A new War Within login screen is coming in the future. Maybe. Now, we're prefacing this with a maybe because we're still not 100% sure yet, but there has been some interesting things data mined that may be pushing towards a new War Within login screen. Now, if you saw it recently, this is what it looks like. Just kind of a rotating, fiery anus, nothing too excited to look at. But it looks like Blizzard's adding some new stuff. Now, if you remember back in Dragonflight, we did get 2 versions of the login screen. We got one, and people kind of complained that there's nothing really exciting about it. It was just kind of the fog rolling over the hills, and then later on, they added Alex Straza doing the dive, right? And that was like a cool thing. Oh, nice little addition there. Well, some recent data mine things that were thought to just be for a iOS, Apple basically fix, had some other things in it. And those things included a code for a ring, scrolling clouds, bushes, a foreground, a midground, and a background, and some background brazers. So at this moment, they can't see the login screen, but these do look like assets that are meant for some type of new login screen. Again, what it means, whether we're getting one or not, that's all TBD. But you know what's not TBD? A giveaway. I interrupt this news segment to bring you a grave message from Samiccus himself. I call myself many times a man of the people, and that's exactly what I am. I'm here to give back to the people. You can win yourself an epic edition by watching 1 hour, just one measly hour of my stream. Every hour of stream you view, you get 1 point, and you can use those points to enter the giveaway. The more you watch, the better chance you got. Subscribers get an extra 5 entries into the giveaway, so join the stream, come on in, stop by, say hi, and enter for your chance to win an epic War Within edition. That's right, get your early access, get in, and be the degenerate you truly are. Moving on. World of Warcraft, the War Within is about to be more than just Alliance, and that's it. Whether or not previous expansions have only been Alliance, I don't know. But this was an interview done by what's her name, Polygon. They interviewed the art people that we recently witnessed Taliesin interviewing, same people, and they got into some of the storytelling and the direction that World of Warcraft is going. There's a nice little summary here from Wowhead. So they got into, again, talking to Maria Hamilton and Jordan Powers. These are your artists and lead directors here, talking about the World Soul Saga and how it's going to be. And they did get into a little chatter about, what is it, about Alliance storytelling. Now, they talked about how the Alliance has typically been favored in storytelling, and while that may be true, we have had our expansions that very much favored the Horde. I mean, I felt like Warlords of Draenor was completely a Horde storytelling. And I didn't feel like Battle for Azeroth was very Alliance-centric. I felt like we got a lot of Sourfang backstory, a lot of good Horde storytelling coming out of there. But evidently, the creators of this game still feel like we've always kind of sided with the Alliance when it comes to storytelling. So Maria Hamilton responded to this question about Alliance and Horde, and she said, "I think we wanted to move away, except where it made a lot of sense, from having different stories being told. Sometimes we want you to understand a slightly different nuance. And then we might have a separate Horde-only or Alliance-only story. But in general, for our main story, we really wanted to make sure that everyone understood that same story. We did think a lot about where we have the Horde representation and Alliance representation. And of course, we know what we are doing in the future as well. And so we are trying to make sure that nobody is feeling like their particular interest isn't being represented as much as possible. Because it's a saga, right? We have room to spread things over a longer period of time. And it may be that people are reacting to. They're saying this first chapter, not even a full chapter, is really what we're getting into here. But they're seeing this first installment and saying, wow, that seems like a lot of Alliance characters. But there are Horde characters that are going to show up, later on. That's what she's basically getting into, and there will be more later. That's fine. They talk about Anduin's story a little bit and how, things are going to happen through there, and they don't just want it to be like all of a sudden Anduin's better. They want us to go through things and, witness Anduin's changing over time. Now, I do think they're going to get some good Horde stories out of this, too. Again, with the reuniting of all the elves, obviously the Blood Elves are going to get a lot of storylines coming out in the War Within, or in Midnight, too. Suramar Elves, all that shit's going to be happening. The Nightborn. There's going to be a lot of good stories to be told on both sides. Whether it's Horde or Alliance, I personally don't give a shit. I just want good stories. And I feel like that's what they're going to give us, hopefully. Again, not so much focused on Horde or Alliance, which is fine. I understand the faction divide's gone. Kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, that's where the game currently stands. So we'll have to wait and see how those stories pan out. But they're trying not to focus on factions too much. Regarding the newfound focus on longer stories that spans multiple expansions, broad strokes are planned out, so the developers know which direction they are heading and who they'll be running into, allowing them to set up story beats familiar to cultures ahead of time. So they're basically, because we're going over 3 expansions here, they're going to have more time to tell the stories, which means they can better set them up. Jordan Powers responded, to borrow an art analogy, we have the broad strokes sort of planned out. We can see where we're going, what cultures and races and characters that we're going to be interacting with throughout the course of this world saga. And while Maria said, it allows us to make adjustments, make sure that we're hitting all the right flavor notes along the way. Yeah, and I'm sure basically what we're getting, because we're getting a saga here, is we're going to get better storytelling because it can be told over a longer period of time. You've always gone in those movies and watched them and said, damn, they should have told this thing over more episodes or more movies. Game of Thrones is a great example, right? There should have been like another whole season of that thing. The way it ended was kind of sad, and that's because they were just tight on time, right? And that's, at the end of the day, the giving them more expansions to tell the story over, I think, should lead to better storytelling. Jesus Christ, the damn blurps every morning. Who the hell got that shit out? Yeah, Cadence, of course. I always forget to mute those things. Yeah, great story. Good morning to everybody. So moving on, the majority of the War Within is taking place underground, which introduces a new world view for players and designers alike, leveraging lessons learned from the Zaralek Caverns and stacks of the Ringing Deeps, Hallowfall, Ashgahad atop, all atop one another, rather than basically the traditional spread out outdoor world zones. Now, I have to admit, when we decided we were going underground for this expansion, it did worry me a little bit. I was concerned, but from what I've seen from the zones, they seem to do a good job of making you feel like you're not always underground. And the zones look massive. Being underground doesn't seem to have limited them in size, which is nice. Yeah, they like to be on top of one another. Yeah, always got to be on top, of course, Cadence. Maria Hamilton commented on this. She said, well, as far as the story side of things, having things within a pocket, as you are saying, it's a little tighter. It's a little closer. But at the same time, we can tell sort of personal stories about the place and about some of those people. Sometimes you'll come across a place that doesn't look like it's been used much. There's not much happening there. And then sometimes that's really intentional because we want the environmental storytelling to do so, to work for us. You come across the place and you wonder, well, what happened here? So sometimes you don't have to build things to those tighter spaces to tell stories. Sometimes you just have to step back and say, all right, they'll imagine what happened here. This is cool. Interesting. So basically the zone itself is telling the story and they're kind of letting us figure it out on our own. Jordan Powers commented on this. I think, artistically, there were some challenges when creating 4 unique zones, 3 of which were underground. One of the big things that we were mindful of from an art perspective was trying to make sure that all these spaces we're crafting are not too claustrophobic, too dark, too oppressive, because nobody really wants to spend, an extended period of time in an environment like that. Oh, he's he talking about the maw? Yeah. The spiky dildos everywhere, the ominous music, the no ability to mount, and the darkness. The shade palette was so shit. Man, the maw's got to be one of the worst zones ever created. No doubt. It could have been a cool zone maybe for some periodic questing, but the amount of time we had to spend there, and then not to mention Torghast kind of looked like it, and the raid looked like it, like everything looked like it. Oh my god. I'm so glad we're done with that place. But yeah, he's totally right. And I don't feel like these zones look oppressive or dark. Especially zones like Hallowfall and stuff. They all look very cool. Even though they're underground, Hallowfall looks like it's above ground. He went on to say, so what we did was we tried to strike a delicate balance between still nailing the fantasy of venturing deeper underground, but also providing players with some new, unexpected things that they'll be encountering along the way. And I think a great example of that is when you come out of the Ringing Deeps into Hallowfall. You see, the shot of the giant crystal coming out of the cavern ceiling. You see the endless ocean. It's not something players would expect to see underground. And I agree. Hallowfall looks beautiful. Totally looks like above ground. Why you like this, Radicus? You know, I'm just a degenerate at the end of the day. Sounds like Sam and I would get along then. Definitely spiky dildos kind of guy. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Ending with a final cryptic note in the interview, Maria Hamilton said, yes, a hole goes down or to the side, but sometimes it gets blocked. And then you have to try different ways to do things, and it's not always a hole. There's more to it than going down. Okay, this quote looks like it could be taken out of context, but it could easily be taken out of context, I should say, by anyone's mind reading it. But I think what she's trying to say is, you know, there's going to be more to this than just going deeper into the ground. They're going to have different ways of looking at things, different maybe, you know, ways to uncover certain zones and stuff, and that sounds pretty nice. We'll have to see how the whole underground for an entire zone is going to feel. I do hope that, obviously, the hub city is going to be above ground. We already know that, so that's good. We'll be spending time there. But overall, being underground for as long as we're going to be, we'll have to see how that plays out over time. But an interesting interview from Polygon here.